Friends, welcome to my channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It's not difficult for you, but it's nice for me, and we're starting. So, what will be the final decision? Ask for permission or act behind his back, and ask for forgiveness if necessary. Marianne Looper asked her best friend Tracy McLeish as they drank cappuccino at a Starbucks in Denver, Colorado. Tracy looked at her friend with a wry smile. Prudence says it would be better to tell him about it before I do so that it would not be a deception, but reason tells me that he will refuse if I tell him in advance. So acting behind his back and not being seen seems a much better solution, Tracy said. Her long platinum hair glowed as it caught the sunbeam falling from the skylight. Ah, Prudence can be such a fickle bitch. Just make sure you don't get caught, Marianne said. Although it seems that sooner or later it happens to everyone. You know that, right? Yes, but I hope that by the time that happens, I'll have enough time for him to realize that it's better to just let me continue, Tracy said. Are you sure you want to take the risk? Marcus is a great guy, Marianne said. You've been married for a long time. That's why I think he'll let me continue if he finds us, Tracy said. I don't think he's going to want to give up everything we've worked so hard for. In 10 or 15 years, we could have gone into the sunset at a pleasant retirement age. Not that he should worry about me falling in love with any of these guys. I know it sounds corny, but in this case it really will be just love. I believe you, sis, but men don't think the way we do. I know, but I have to do this, Tracy said. I need to bring some joy back into my life. Tracy and Marianne have been discussing this for the past 2 months, ever since Tracy told her friend that she feels her life has entered a rut from which she sees only one way out. I need to feel the excitement of a new relationship, Tracy told her friend. Do you remember how exciting it was in high school, college, and right after, when the boys looked out for us, ran after us, and then looked after us? How did we spend all this time talking to a guy, or maybe several, learning something about them, and they learned something about us? I need it. I miss it. I love Marcus to death. He is a wonderful man, a great father, a good breadwinner, a great husband. But we've been together for so long. We finish each other's sentences. We both know what the other is thinking. As B.B. King would say, the thrill is over. I need to get them back, Mary. I don't want to hurt Mark, but I need to do this for myself. I need to figure out how I can do this and minimize Mark's pain at the same time. I'd rather he didn't find out anything at all, but maybe it would be better if he found out from me first. I don't want to get divorced. I just need some joy in my life. Not for long. And then I think I could come back and be the best wife for Mark for the rest of my life. I don't think Mark will give you this, Tracy, no matter how much he loves you, Marianne said. Me too. I really need to think about this carefully, Marianne, Tracy said. He was standing at the bar with another student when Tracy and 3 of her friends went into a small Mexican restaurant near campus. 4 girls sat down at a table, and Tracy's place was opposite 2 young men at the bar. I've seen a round guy on campus before, but not that tall guy with the curly mop of hair, Tracy told the others at the table. Do any of you know him? This is Marcus McLeish, an outstanding botanical scientist, said one of the people at the table. He's not a very secular person. He's too busy to be brilliant. Everyone says he's going to start with a 6-figure sum at one of the big chemical companies. Wow. At the same time, gorgeous blue eyes and, it seems, a good figure. Ladies, I think I just found my husband. I'm going to attack, Tracy said, getting up from the table and heading towards the young man. Although Marcus was by no means a womanizer, he knew a lot about women, although never before had a woman as beautiful as Tracy chosen him. She was wearing tight Levi's jeans and the obligatory Iowa t-shirt. The young man tried to keep a straight face, but could not resist and frankly looked at the buxom woman from head to toe. Nice to meet you. It's really nice. You might want to wipe the drool off your chin, scientist guy. By the way, I'm Tracy Miller, she said, smiling when he couldn't come up with a coherent answer. They have been inseparable ever since and got married a year after graduating from university. Tracy's outgoing, direct nature brought out the best in the quiet, reserved, super-intelligent botanical scientist. Outside of work, Marcus was completely focused on doing whatever his wife wanted or needed. In her presence, he could keep up a conversation on many topics, even be glib and charming when necessary. or he could be persistent when it was necessary. 27 years of marriage had no effect on the fact that Marcus began to love his wife and his life less. He worked very hard, combining career and family life, and thought he was doing well. He was vice president of research at a medical equipment company, and he and Tracy had raised two wonderful children who were now in good colleges. They had a nice house, had a great vacation, managed their money wisely, and planned to retire at 60 to travel around the world while they were in good health. If Marcus had been asked, he would have told anyone who would listen to him that his marriage was almost perfect. Tracy believed that since Joshua Laird was the one who helped her get on this path, he should be the first to take advantage of it. The 35-year-old man twice invited Tracy to have lunch with him and was refused twice. At the same time, the woman indicated that she was happily married. So when she invited him to dinner a few weeks later, he squinted at her for a few seconds before giving an affirmative answer. "What has changed? Are you and your husband at odds?" he asked. Tracy wasn't sure how much she wanted to open up, so she preferred to limit herself to a brief answer. "My husband and I are fine. That's what I want. And that doesn't apply to my marriage," Tracy said. "And since you were the one who had the courage to ask, luck favors the brave in this case. All I will say is that there has come a time in my life when I want to worry a little bit again. I am a wife, a mother, and a professional, but I'm also a woman who has needs and feelings. I think this part of my life hasn't been going well lately, and I also miss the spontaneity of my youth. Give me some wine. Treat me to dinner. Let's see where this leads. But be careful. The message has been received. Thank you for agreeing to my proposal," Joshua said. 2 weeks later, on Thursday evening, Tracy and Joshua met for dinner at an upscale Jamaican restaurant on the outskirts of the city. A week earlier, she had told her husband that she had an appointment with a client and would return home around 11 p.m. Since she had to hold business meetings from time to time for her work at the National Communications Company, Marcus did not hesitate for long, especially since he fully trusted his wife. He didn't know that she packed a change of clothes in a travel bag and put it in the trunk of her car when she left for work. Joshua was surprised when Tracy got out of her car in a short, tight blue dress that she didn't wear to work. He examined the woman carefully, and even though he knew that she had worked for their company for 20 years, he still assumed that she was about 40 years old. "You look amazing, Tracy. You weren't wearing what you used to wear today," Joshua said. "I thought you deserved better than business, Tracy," she said, making air quotes with her hands. He held out his hand to the woman. She shook it, and they entered the restaurant like the couple they were that evening. Tracy's heart was beating faster than usual. It was for this reason that she wanted to date another man. Sitting at the table, she looked into Joshua's big brown eyes, noted the color of his skin, and thought about his toned body under his business suit. She smiled brightly. "Are you half Jamaican? Is that why you chose this place?" Tracy asked her date. "Actually, yes," he replied. "Both my British grandfathers were married to Jamaican women, and both my parents live in England. Both of my grandmothers were great cooks, and I have wonderful memories of how they cooked damn delicious dishes. I come here at least once a month. Jamaican cuisine is good for the stomach. Dancing is on the agenda." They danced for about 45 minutes before Joshua offered to end the evening at his house. At first glance, it seemed to Tracy that this proposal was too bold. However, on reflection, she realized that this was exactly what she wanted. She gave the young man a charming smile and nodded in agreement. As in the restaurant and club, each of them drove their own car to Joshua's house. Once inside, Tracy noticed that she was trembling with anticipation, and her bikini panties were soaked with excitement. 45 minutes later, Tracy was lying on the bed next to Joshua, panting and sweating after her first love with anyone other than Marcus in more than 28 years. "I need to clean up a bit and change into casual clothes," she told Joshua a few minutes later. As she changed clothes, combed her hair, and applied makeup, Tracy noted that the guilt she expected to experience was minimal. She smiled inwardly, knowing that this was a good sign. When she came out of the bathroom, Joshua was still waiting for her. They kissed passionately on the lips before she left, telling him that she would be happy to repeat the performance in the future. Tracy walked through the door at 11:15 p.m., quickly apologizing to Marcus for being a few minutes late due to traffic jams. She sincerely regretted her lateness, and her unsuspecting husband noticed this sincerity when she quickly kissed him on the lips and disappeared into the bathroom. Wow, it turned out to be easier than I thought, Tracy told herself as she walked past. All these worries were in vain. After 5 repetitions with Joshua, Tracy decided that she needed to change her lover in order to stick to her plan. It wasn't that she stopped making love to Joshua, it was just that she had a second man, and soon a third. Getting to know all 3 of them, both in and out of bed, was very exciting, completely satisfying her need for something new and exciting. Tracy was pleased with how her plan had worked. She usually met with her lovers twice a week. Love was fantastic, and doing something new and communicating with new people with whom you could discuss everything and everything was no less pleasant. If she were honest with herself, she would say that love actually took a backseat, partly because her lovers, although good, were actually no better than her husband. She started thinking about adding more people to her rotation to keep it fresh. "Is this your wife?" Carl Smiley asked Marcus hesitantly as he approached the older man from behind to examine the diagram on his computer monitor. A photo of Tracy and a photo of his 2 children always stood on the left side of his desk, to the right of the monitor located in the corner. Marcus heard the uncertainty in the young man's voice and noticed that he took a step back. He turned to look at the young man and saw that he had turned pale. He pointed to a chair opposite his desk and invited the man to sit down. Carl worked with Marcus for 3 years. Marcus liked the 27-year-old and felt he had a good future at the company. He also thought that the young man was handsome and respectful. This is the kind of man he would like his daughter to marry someday, if she decides to take this step. "Something's obviously wrong with you, Carl. You look like you've seen a ghost." "Oh, you've seen a ghost, haven't you, Carl?" Marcus asked, and his face suddenly showed understanding. Carl quickly lowered his eyes to his lap. Marcus got up, closed the door of his office, and locked it. He leaned back in his chair and stared through the young man. The silence became more and more tense. "I didn't know she was your wife. I swear, I didn't know that," Carl whispered, lowering his eyes. "I knew she was married. She said that she and her husband had an agreement. I swear, I didn't know she was your wife." Marcus's expression changed from worried to angry in the blink of an eye, and then to nauseating. It was as if a bomb had exploded in his well-functioning brain, and questions and thoughts poured in from all sides. "How many times have you forgotten that she is my wife?" Marcus finally asked after about 10 seconds of silence. "3 no, 4, the young man replied, quickly cutting the actual number in half to reduce the effect. Marcus felt tears welling up in his eyes. He saw Carl quickly calculate something in his mind and guessed that the young man had given him a figure that was less than the actual one to try to ease Marcus's pain. After another long silence, Marcus finally croaked, "How? Why?" The young man finally looked up at Marcus. He didn't need to say another word to understand what Marcus was asking. "We met about 4 months ago in a bar with a dance floor. She was with a black guy. They looked like a couple, especially when they were dancing. We danced once or twice and talked. I asked if they were exclusive, and she said no. She agreed to a date with me next week, and we meet sometimes." "By dating, you mean that you are making love, right?" Marcus asked. Carl lowered his eyes and nodded. "She said that she and you, I suppose. She had an agreement. She was dating, yes, making love, with other guys with your approval," he said. "I swear to God, I didn't know she was your wife. I swear to God." "Yes, but you knew she was someone's wife," Marcus pointed out. "Yes, but she was already with someone. At first I thought it was his wife, but when I looked at his hand, I noticed that there was no ring on it," Carl said. The young man looked directly at Marcus and made an obvious decision. "It turns out she's dating Dan. With several men besides me and a black guy," Carl said quietly. "Are you saying that not only didn't give her permission, but you didn't know about it?" "That would be an accurate assessment," Marcus said. The 2 men looked at each other in silence. "I'm sorry, Marcus. I'm going to stop seeing her," Carl said. "I would appreciate it. I would also appreciate it if you didn't tell her about this conversation." "I need to make some plans," Marcus said. Carl got up, unlocked the door, and quietly left. Marcus remained sitting, essentially staring at his computer, for the next hour, until it was time to go home. He knew that he and his wife had not been in a relationship for the past year. Their casual conversations became less frequent. She worked late more often than ever before, and even their usual connections had dwindled from a few times a week to maybe once every 2 weeks. She constantly answered his questions about her health and well-being with a monosyllabic grunt. As usual on those nights when none of them worked late, Tracy was in the kitchen cooking dinner when Marcus walked in the door. He hung the keys on the usual hook, but instead of going up to his wife and giving her a quick kiss before changing, he plopped down on a chair at the kitchen table and his eyes filled with tears. Tracy looked at her husband and realized that he had found out everything. Tears also immediately appeared in her eyes, and she felt that she was frozen to the place where she was standing. "How long has this been going on, Tracy? Why don't you love me anymore?" he muttered, trying his best not to cry. Tracy couldn't hold back the tears. "Not more than a year. But I really love you, baby." "It's not that," she said, and tears streamed down her cheeks. Marcus raised his eyebrows at his wife, but said nothing. He held out his right hand, indicating that she should continue to speak. "The fact is that I want more experiences and new adventures in my life. Love. Actually, it's secondary," Tracy said. Marcus grimaced. "Remember how you went on dates before we got married? Do you remember how exciting and new everything seemed? You listened to your girlfriend, recognized her from head to toe. You had a new experience together," she said. "But we have been married for 27 years, and together for more than 28. We know each other thoroughly, physically and mentally. Even when we do something new, it still happens to the same person. I know how you're going to react, and you know how I'm going to react. I needed to feel new and alive. I needed new people with whom I could communicate closely. I was thinking of asking your permission before I started, so as not to cheat. After all, you would know, but, as I heard, those who tried to do it never succeeded. So I decided that I would just continue, and you and I could talk about it, if it works out to the extent that it does now. I know you love me, and as soon as you think about it, I know you'll give it to me because you love me as much as I love you. I deserve it. I was a good wife and mother. I'm sure I've been a good husband and father, but I would never suggest that you should let me date other people because of that," Marcus interrupted. Tracy gritted her teeth at the interruption, but continued as soon as Marcus finished his statement. "It's not about my love for you, baby, and it's certainly not that I'm in love with someone else. I don't love any of them. It's just you and me." They became old and callous. "I just need it. I need a charge of something new and exciting, at least for a while longer. As soon as I can get enough of the new and exciting, I'll be yours again, forever. Then we can grow old and feel comfortable together. We'll have plenty of time." Tracy looked at Marcus as if she were talking to an unreasonable child. In turn, he looked at her as if she were some kind of monster. "Marriage is a journey, Tracy," Marcus said. "Everything starts with new sensations and experiences, and then, eventually, it becomes familiar and comfortable. Every step is an experience, just like it happens when you raise children. You're trying to create something new and exciting by sleeping with other men, and this is just an attempt to justify your infidelity, and I'm not going to put up with it. You don't want to put up with this? What is it?" she asked sharply, flaring up with anger. "I don't belong to you. I can see who I want and when I want. No, you don't belong to me, but we made vows to each other, and you can't break them because you're bored. Marriage doesn't work that way. If that's what you want, then you should have done the right thing and filed for divorce. Since you don't have the guts, I'll serve it myself," Marcus shouted back. "I don't want a divorce. I just need time to figure this out," Tracy croaked. "No, you want me to be there as a backup. You're comfortable with me, and you want to get back to what we had as soon as you're satisfied with yours, a vacation. Meet new guys, make love with a couple, and go back to boring old Marcus when you finish your sabbatical, so to speak," Marcus said. "We've been married for 27 years, Tracy squealed. "Don't I deserve a little attention? How many men have you cheated on me with, Tracy? Didn't I deserve attention?" Tracy snorted, but didn't answer the question. She pursed her lips and suddenly thought about it. "How did you know?" she asked in a much quieter voice and seemed calmer than before. "Answer my question first. How many men were there?" Marcus asked. "If it's so hard for you to remember them all, name them to me in dozens." "Fuck you, Marcus." "This is inappropriate," she grumbled. "Is that true, Tracy?" Marcus said, "I know of at least 5, and considering that I found out about it quite recently, I'm willing to bet that there are many more. Give me some time, and I'm sure I'll have a better idea." Marcus was a very good card player because of his outstanding poker face. In fact, he only knew about 2 men Tracy had slept with, but Carl said he thought there were a few more. So he decided it was worth bluffing and naming a certain number. Tracy swayed slightly before sitting down across from Marcus. For the first time, she looked somewhat guilty, and his 28 years of experience told him that he was probably bluffing too close. She sat and sobbed softly. He knew she'd had enough of talking for one day. Quiet sobs were her way of avoiding admitting defeat. Marcus sat at the table with a crying Tracy for a few more minutes before going upstairs to change his clothes. He decided that he would order a pizza for himself. He had a pack of 12 bottles of Miller High Life in his refrigerator. His future ex-wife could cook her own dinner. Having stopped crying, Tracy sat down at the table, lost in thought. Not that it mattered, but she realized that Marcus had never told her how he found out about her cheating. She didn't push him on that either, because she knew he could push her because of the amount of her connections. Although she was angry when he suggested that there might be more than a dozen of them, she knew that his estimate was frighteningly close. During the 9 months of her adventures, she slept with 9 men several times, and also slept with one night 3 times. Tracy sincerely hoped that her husband would never find out about her dates. She truly loved Marcus and hoped that they would be able to rebuild their marriage after she finished her adventure. She always knew she could get caught, but she believed that Marcus loved her enough to give it to her. She would be eternally grateful to him for allowing her to do this, and in the future she would demonstrate to him every day that she was the best wife that could be for him. Tracy wasn't surprised, but she was offended when Marcus went to their son's old bedroom when it was time for both of them to go to bed. "In all the years of our marriage, we have never slept apart. Why start now? It's not like we haven't slept together the whole time I've been dating them," Tracy said. Marcus suddenly looked sick. He rushed into the bathroom and regurgitated his pepperoni Lavers pizza. Tracy soaked a rag and left it on the kitchen table for him, and then went to bed alone. Marcus staggered to his son's bedroom and fell on the bed. He slept restlessly. The next morning, getting ready for work, the couple was mostly silent. Just before Marcus got ready to go to his car, Tracy reminded him that she would be home about 90 minutes late because she would have to stay late at work. As soon as the words left her lips, she realized that she had made a mistake. "Oh shit, how many times have you used that excuse to trick me? Is that what this is about?" Marcus asked. In truth, it was. Last week, Tracy had a lunch date with a man for love. She didn't think much of it until she reminded her husband about it, because there was nothing to think about until yesterday. Yeah, I'm going to meet someone. I'm sorry. I made this appointment last week, and I'm telling you about it. I worked late the day before yesterday," she said. "Yes, I often used work as an excuse. Sometimes I just worked late. Sometimes I met with clients. But it wasn't always a lie. Sometimes I really had to work. I guess I should just cancel the meeting. I didn't think." "You're not going to stop seeing other men for a while, are you?" Marcus asked. "No, I'm not planning on it. I plan to continue for a while longer." "Well, then you can make love to this guy," Marcus stated blankly, making Tracy flinch. He went into the garage, got into his car, and drove to work. Damn, it didn't go exactly according to plan, she thought to herself. Marcus was amazed that he hadn't had an accident on the way to his office. He didn't remember driving the car, but suddenly he was in the parking lot. Once at his desk, he couldn't concentrate on his work. His mind wondered how many times his wife had made love to other men in the last 9+ months. She told him that love was secondary, but in his opinion she was lying, as she often did when she said she was working late. One day, trust disappears. He waited until 9:15 a.m. before calling a friend who was a family lawyer. He made an appointment for 5 p.m., deciding that since his wife would not be home, he could work more productively. He was sitting at the kitchen table eating Italian takeaway when Tracy returned home and went into the kitchen. Their eyes met for a moment before Tracy went upstairs. Marcus noted that her hair and makeup looked the same as always. Apparently, she cleaned herself up before returning to work after an appointment. She came downstairs in casual clothes. Marcus was well aware that she hadn't showered. How many times have you given me sloppy seconds? Marcus asked his wife in a whisper. Her husband found out that she was dating. She couldn't think of them as novels. They had changed so many things. She realized when he looked at her with hatred in his eyes. She cringed before answering. I should have beaten the shit out of you, you disrespectful bastard. I would never do that to you, Tracy said. Marcus grinned at Tracy's anger. He tried to hurt her, and he succeeded. As I thought, you would never cheat on me either, he replied calmly. You've shown me that I don't know you as well as I thought I did. She sighed loudly and then rolled her eyes. Come on, play the martyr, she said. Okay, I'll do that, he said. Calling me disrespectful is the same as calling the kettle black. The fact that you've been lying and cheating on me for months is incredibly disrespectful. Even you would have to admit it. I'm not disrespecting you. I've already told you. I'm enjoying new experiences and relationships, she said. You say experience, and I say disrespectful, considering you broke our wedding vows. Marcus spat at the woman. Tracy was extremely surprised when the divorce papers were brought home to her on Wednesday evening the following week. Surprise turned to anger when she opened an ordinary manila envelope on the way from the front door. I thought you were going to resolve my doubts about this, Mark. You're going to throw away 27 years because I want to get a new experience, and you're just happy to get old, Tracy complained. What in the name of all that's holy gave you the idea that I'd let you try other men for a year and still be married to you? Do you see the lobotomy scar on my forehead? Marcus asked calmly. Why can't you realize that it's about experiencing something new and meeting new people? Love happens, but it's not that important, she said. And yet, it seems that almost all your dates end in love, doesn't it? Marcus said. How do you know that? What is it? She asked, shocked. I haven't done it officially until now, but I know guys. Remember, I'm one of them. If it's on the menu, the guy will definitely order it. We are predictable, he said. Tracy grimaced and left. Now that everything was revealed and she no longer had to hide her dates, Tracy felt the strength to take her time home and returned home after midnight on the next two outings. She was both surprised and somewhat annoyed that Marcus was sitting and waiting for her to come home, as he waited for the children when they went on dates. Have you ever gone to a line dance before? God, it was a lot of fun last night, Tracy told Marcus as the two of them had a quick breakfast before leaving for work. As usual, Marcus raised his eyebrows in surprise. He was quite surprised by this development of events. So now you're going to tell me about your dates? Perfect. Was love good too? He asked sarcastically. She grinned at his question. Yes, it usually is, she replied flippantly, giving him a smug look. But that's the rub, baby. There's always love, Marcus said. You can deny it all you want, but it's not so much about love as about everything else. And that makes you a fool. That's why we're getting divorced. There won't be a divorce, Marcus. That's what you say, Tracy. Marcus waited a week and called both children to inform them about the divorce. He was surprised when his eldest daughter, Layla, seemed to know everything that was going on and obviously took her mother's side in what was happening. Can't you see that she still loves you and that she'll come back to you eventually? Layla said. It's too late after all, Marcus said. I am not one of those guys who will share his wife. Her. The fact that she cheated on me with several men for almost a year suggests that she does not love me as much as she thinks. But you've had 27 good years, and she still loves you. I know that, Dad, Layla said. She just wants to meet new people and things for a while. You don't want. You are satisfied with the existing status quo. Don't let her desire for a new experience be the end for the two of you. But she's cheating on me, Layla. I can't just ignore it. We made vows. Until death do us part, Marcus said. Doesn't 27 years of being a good wife and mother give her a few extra points, Dad? What do you gain by divorcing her? Living alone in a dirty apartment for the rest of your days? By staying with her, you will earn her unwavering devotion to you for life, doing everything in her power to please you. But doesn't she owe me the same loyalty I've shown her? Marcus asked. I have kept my vows, though it would have been as easy for me to break them as it was for her. You can't seriously support what she's done, can you? Does Nate know that you support this madness? Maybe I need to find out what he thinks about it. You won't do that to me, Dad. That would be low, Layla said. Look at me, baby. I think he needs to know exactly what's going on and how you feel about it, because it's going to haunt him in the future, Marcus said. Dad, no, Layla exclaimed. I would never do that to Nate. Then why are you so insistent that your mother do this to me? Marcus asked. If you think this is acceptable behavior, then sooner or later you will do the same to your husband. Do you think this is acceptable behavior? Layla hesitated. Marcus took this as a sign that he was right. Tracy and Marcus' son, Ed, unconditionally supported his father's position when he was told about the divorce and the reasons why Marcus was getting divorced. I never thought she'd go this far, Dad, Ed said. A week later, on a Saturday evening, Tracy was sitting on the couch in the living room and looking at her husband, who was sitting on the other side of the room. It suddenly dawned on her that weeks had passed. No, months. Ever since they cuddled on the couch, as they often did before. After further reflection, it had been several months since they had hugged, kissed, or made love. She was so busy with her adventures that she missed the opportunity to be alone with Marcus. I wonder why he didn't complain and didn't do anything about it. Marcus, honey, why don't you move over here and we can hug together? Maybe play a little bit. It's been a while, hasn't it? You're not too old for this kind of thing, are you? Tracy asked. I'm fine, baby. Yes, I still love love, but we haven't had love since I found out you were cheating on me. I'm not going to touch you. In fact, I checked myself after I found out that you were cheating on me. Dr. Sabin seemed a little surprised, Marcus explained. Oh my God. Did you go to Dr. Sabin? He'll think about it. What are you stupid for? Yes. I'm sure he got this message, Marcus said. No, 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 Tracy moaned. For once in your life, couldn't you think of someone other than yourself? The whole city will know about it very soon, if it hasn't already. You made yourself look like a cuckold, baby. Thank you, Marcus said in an indifferent tone. I didn't want to take any chances, because I know you take it personally. You've already broken my heart. I didn't want to have another part of my body broken. You're just a screamer. Do you know about this? Tracy hissed. So we'll never have love again? Do you think you can do it? She growled and left the room. The young man was barely 25 years old. Tracy lay on her back and looked at, what the hell was his name? Harrison. Harrison Baines. His eyes were closed. She admitted that he was handsome, but there was really nothing special about him. He had a good physique and was a pretty good dancer, but he wasn't really very smart and couldn't keep up a conversation unless it was about baseball. Almost all Tracy's dates, without exception, ended in love. She knew she was telling herself that her dates were new experiences with new people, but in fact it was love with new people. Perhaps, if you think about it further, Harrison Baines, he was right. She was a fool. Besides, an egocentric fool. Perhaps it's time to reunite with her husband. The only problem was how to do it. Marcus's refusal to engage in intimate relations with his wife since he found out that she was cheating on him became the biggest obstacle to their reunion. Tracy knew that Marcus still loved her on some level, but it would be much easier to get him back if she could stupidly use him a few times. How do I get him back into my bed? He's been living in Ed's room since he found out about it, and he's celibate like a priest, Tracy told Marianne Looper shortly after lunch. I bet he has calluses on his right hand. You must be in deep shit, girlfriend, if you can't get him back into your bed, Marianne replied. I thought you had a backup plan. I thought 28 years was a good backup plan. I mean, we had a damn good marriage. If he was so good, why did you destroy him? Most women would kill for a great guy like Marcus, Marianne asked. Because I thought I was so damn smart. I was so sure I could get my pie and eat it. I still don't understand how he caught me, Tracy said. It's too late to worry about that, Marianne replied. Marcus had no idea how to lead a bachelor life. It's been a long time since he was a bachelor. At first, life was reduced to work, and then to returning home to a lonely apartment to cook frozen pizza or Pop-Tarts for dinner. Eventually, he went for a walk with a few friends and discovered that there was a whole world he didn't know anything about. Single professional men and women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. At first, Marcus sat on the sidelines and watched as all his middle-aged counterparts seemed to be attracted to women between the ages of 20 and 30. He understood this attraction, but also noticed that many older women were left unattended. The most attractive of them often work in pairs with younger men, as his ex-wife did. But there are still more than enough decent-looking women among them, according to their left hands without rings. Marcus always checked to see if they had an engagement ring, because he didn't want to do to some unsuspecting husband what had been done to him. Just because she's married doesn't mean she's off limits. One of his friends, Tom, explained one evening. She just wants to have some fun. What's wrong with that? She's someone's wife, Tom. That's what's wrong with that, Marcus said. I'm not going to help some fool cuckold her husband. I definitely didn't like it when it was done to me. I won't do it with anyone else. Despite what some of his friends called his bizarre needs, Marcus found that there were more than enough single women. Some of them were looking for the right man, while others were just looking for the right man at the moment. Marcus was not averse to spending time with each type, and over the next year he had several meetings. Marcus, to tell the truth, doubted that he would ever meet again the love that he had had for most of the 28 years he spent with Tracy. Until she decided she wanted to try more, Marcus thought his marriage was almost perfect. He admitted to himself that finding a woman like Tracy, whom he married for the first time, was probably an impossible task. Carol Radke was sitting alone at a table for 5, guarding drinks, as is customary in this world where women have to beware of men pouring into their drinks, when Marcus decided to meet this woman. He assumed that the woman was perhaps several years younger than him, with a thick tan or perhaps mixed race, straight black shoulder-length hair, and expressive large brown eyes. He noticed that she swayed to the beat of the music as she sat. "Do you mind?" Marcus asked, pointing to an empty seat next to the woman. "Oh, please," she said with a radiant smile. "It would be great to talk to one of the adults. I'm looking after the kids today." Marcus smiled back and raised his eyebrows questioningly as he sat down. "It's a bachelorette party for young people in the office. I'm here to make sure everyone goes home alone and safe. I'm the only one here who didn't have to show documents to get in. By the way, Carol Radke," she said. A chuckling Marcus introduced himself. "Yes, it's been a long time since I've been asked for my ID too," he said. They were deep in conversation when the 3 young women returned from the dance floor to their table. They all smiled at Marcus and took the empty seats at the table. Carol interrupted her conversation with Marcus long enough to introduce them to each other. All the 20-year-old girls politely greeted each other. "Is Mary Jo here somewhere?" Carol asked after the performance. "Yes, she went to the ladies' room after the last dance," the red-haired girl on Marcus's left replied. "Give her another minute or two, and then one of you will check if she is all right," Carol said, looking from one face to the other. "Yes, Mommy," one of the girls replied. "I have never lost my vigilance in any of these establishments. I'm not going to start tonight," she explained to Marcus. "It's great to have someone looking after the kids. Do you go with them all the time?" he asked. "Whenever they have a bachelorette party, that's what I do. When they leave alone, well, in general, they're on their own. I'm just an old divorced mother hen. I drink a maximum of 2 glasses, and then I switch to iced tea," she said with a laugh. "Does Mom ever dance?" Marcus asked the people at the table, while Carol blushed. "We don't think that often enough," the redhead said, and the other women smiled. "So you girls won't mind if I take her somewhere for a few minutes, if she agrees, of course?" Marcus asked. Carol nodded in the affirmative, and the younger girls escorted them to the dance floor. He noticed that Carol seemed to be hiding her curvaceous figure under her low-key blouse and skirt. Marcus wasn't a great dancer, but he wasn't shy about trying. He felt much more confident when a slow song sounded from the speakers and hugged the woman to him. She liked the strength of Marcus's arms, and she snuggled even closer to him. He noticed it and enjoyed the feeling. Marcus left the bar with Carol's phone number and an appointment for next Friday. "Way to go, Mommy," Marcus heard one of the young women say as the group left the bar. Tracy stopped dating before the divorce was formalized, believing that perhaps by showing Marcus that she had stopped, he would change his mind about continuing the divorce. She never hid her anger that Marcus hadn't considered reconciling after all the years they'd been married. "You cheated on me, first behind my back, and then right in front of my eyes, regardless of me, my feelings, or the consequences of your actions." "What the hell, Tracy?" Marcus said one day when she begged him to make up. "It didn't mean anything. I just wanted to feel the excitement of new experiences, new people. We have become callous, she said. It meant something to me, Tracy. If you had ever loved me, at least you could have divorced me first, not cheated on me. You self-obsessed fool, he growled. Carol understood that Marcus needed time to learn to trust his partner with all his heart again. 10 years ago, she divorced an unfaithful spouse and faced many of the same problems as Marcus. He found out that the care she showed towards her young colleagues was a manifestation of her natural maternal instincts, despite the fact that she had never had children of her own. They had a small wedding a little more than a year after their first date. 6 months after their first date, Marcus proposed to her, feeling that Carol would cherish his heart for the rest of their lives. Marcus's son, as best man, stood up for his father. One of Carol's co-workers, who was with her when she met Marcus on the first night, was a bridesmaid. Marcus's daughter was unhappy that her father was marrying another woman, but she had to admit that Carol seemed to suit him. Take care of him, and Dad will love you forever. In this sense, he looks like a devoted Saint Bernard, Layla told her after the ceremony. The two retired 12 years later and spent their retirement years traveling the country and visiting their grandchildren. They signed up for ballroom dancing classes and took part in several events in their area. They rarely parted. After the divorce, Tracy started dating several men again. She had nothing more to lose. Despite the fact that she was still an attractive woman for her age, she was over 50, and her boyfriends were no longer as attractive as they used to be. However, since she was no longer married, she took advantage of the opportunity to spend nights with her boyfriends. Sometimes she even spent the whole weekend with her beloved man. Although she hated to admit it, being a fool helped her fill her free time. I miss him every day, she told her friend Marianne Looper one day over lunch about 5 years after the divorce. I know you warned me. I should have been happy with the good man I had. I was a stupid fool. End.